Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to be talking about the show The Last of Us. Fun fact, this show is based off of a video game which has two installments. The show came out in 2023 and stars Pedro Pascal, Bella Ramsey, and Anna Torv, and was created by Craig Mazin and Neil Drickmann. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. The Last of Us follows Joel and Ellie on their journey 20 years after a zombie outbreak. Ellie is immune to zombie bites, and they are trying to find some people who can help create a cure. On their journey, they come across some killer zombies, but also some humans that aren't exactly the people you want to be hanging out with. The Last of Us is a zombie drama. It has similar vibes to The Walking Dead, World War Z, or The Mandalorian. The Last of Us isn't a show about zombies. It's a drama that has zombies in it, but the story itself really shows what lengths humans will go to survive, how society crumbles during a worldwide crisis, and how in this crisis humans' true nature comes out. Coming into this show, I thought zombies would be the main antagonist, but after watching the show, it makes you wonder if the zombies are actually the real problem. Intros to shows are something I think are very underrated, but I love to see the intro in this show, which looked like an infection starting to spread. I love how they took the time out to create this, to start the episodes off, instead of just jumping straight into the meat of the show. There are a lot of different storylines covered throughout this season, and I feel like the one thing that the directors were really good at was knowing when to move on. They didn't move on too quick or too slow, but it always felt like it was at the right time. Joel and Ellie were traveling across a zombie infected America, and it makes sense that they traveled in a small group with, just them two, and that a lot of the characters wouldn't appear in every single episode, but that didn't mean that they weren't important on this journey. The first two episodes had some very haunting opening scenes that in a way felt very real. The first episode showed a scientist talking about the possibility of a fungus evolving, hinting at the zombie apocalypse, while the second episode showed a scientist examining a body of an infected person and saying that the only way to stop the spread is to bomb the city where the person was, where they got infected. The way that they set up both of these scenes felt as if a zombie apocalypse was really on the horizon for us, and the only way that we would be able to stop it would be to contain it and destroy it no matter what. These scenes were scary and really drew me even more into the show and really had me interested on what was to come. In episode 1, we really get the foundation of not only the beginning of this outbreak, but why Joel becomes such a cold and stern man. We follow his daughter, Sarah, who was played fantastically by Nico Parker, who witnesses how fast the zombie apocalypse started. It was cool to follow Sarah and see how someone could miss the signs and then suddenly be in a lot of danger. Sarah ends up dying, and Nico did a great job at pulling at the emotional strings of the viewer. You would think that Sarah was maybe killed by a zombie, but no, she was actually killed by a human soldier. This scene set up this idea that the zombies are around, and yes, they are definitely dangerous, but they might not be the ones that are causing the brunt of people's pain. We meet Tess, who I think is phenomenally played by Anna Torv. I have never played the game, so I went in excited to see her in this show, only to see her die pretty early on. I love how she is the catalyst for Joel and Ellie's journey, and really was one person who could really get through his tough exterior. When she got bit, I was heartbroken, but Tess is smart and really wanted Joel and Ellie to have enough time to escape, and she lured the zombies in and sacrificed herself and lots of other zombies with her. She was a character that I felt was set on doing the right thing in a world filled with so much wrong. I feel like every time I see Melanie Linsky on screen, I always enjoy her role. We see her as Kathleen, who is in Kansas City, leading a group of revolutionaries to find Henry, who gave up her brother and had him killed. She played this very intimidating lady who seemed very calm, but would show no remorse on killing someone. I really enjoyed her being a little villainous in this role. A constant theme you may have figured out throughout this show is loss, and it didn't matter if you were young or old. While in Kansas, we learn about brothers Henry and Sam, and learn that Henry did what he did to get medicine for his brother, and that's why Kathleen is so mad because it ended up with her brother being killed. Ellie grows close to Sam, and it seemed like this was the first time in a long time that she really had a friend, but then we come to find out later on in the episode that he was bitten. Even though we didn't know him that long, it's a heartbreaking scene as Ellie tries to save him with her blood. Ultimately, he dies at the hands of his older brother once he turns, and his brother can't live with the trauma that he just killed his own brother and ends up killing himself. It was such a heartbreaking scene, and it further showed that in this zombie apocalypse, life comes at you fast, especially once you are bitten. I think that the experience hardened Ellie a little bit more and helps her to understand a little bit more on why Joel is the way that he is. The Kansas City episode might have one of the most stressful scenes to me in this entire season. They hint at a potential sinkhole early in the episode, and I didn't think anything of it. I was just like, oh, it's a sinkhole. What about it? Later on, this sinkhole appears again, and it's not normal. And we come to find out that, of course, there are some infected people inside of this hole. All different types of them come out, and a big Bertha of a zombie called a bloater, who is pretty unstoppable, makes its appearance. Joel was able to help some of his own crew escape, and Kathleen's people were trying their best to kill all of them, but it was such a stressful moment, and I really thought that they were all goners. But that bloater came out and started ripping people in half and was not going down with any guns, and that was stressing me out even more. I was on the edge of my seat, and I love that this show can make me so invested in a scene, while also having my heart racing at the speed of light. Tommy was a character that we saw in episode 1, and I was really hoping that he was going to come back and make a return because I enjoyed Gabriel Luna's portrayal of the character, and Joel had lost so many people, and I hoped he wasn't going to lose any more, especially his brother. I was happy that he found happiness and is living his own life as best as he can, and that he still even honors Sarah while also getting prepared for his own family. Life is pretty bleak throughout the places we see, and seeing where Tommy is proves that some people are trying to rebuild civilization and lead a happy, normal life. We meet David towards the end of the season, who is a cannibalistic pedophile, and he made me so uneasy throughout the episode that he was in, and I was so glad that Ellie killed him. He seemed like the person who wanted to stay in control and use God as his justification. He definitely scared her, as you could tell from her demeanor after her run-in with him, and it just further proves how bad of a person he was. Ellie is portrayed by Bella Ramsey, and let me just give props to Bella. She took a character that is already loved by many because of the games and made even more people fall in love with the character. She has had a rough life, and we see how everyone she has known has left her or died. She is young, and there is still so much she doesn't know about, but we see her grow up on this show from all these different experiences she has while being on the road. She is immune to the zombie infection, which comes in handy when facing the infected, but she soon finds out that humans are pretty awful as well, might even be worse. Seeing her and her friend, who she also had a crush on, get bit was sad, and while this is where she figures out she's immune, her friend slash crush is not. Bella did such a great job showing all the range of emotions needed for a character like Ellie, who starts off as a smartass with lots of questions, but as she learns and experiences more of the world, she takes on more of a serious tone, kind of like Joel. After her experience with David, you can tell she was traumatized, and I'm interested to see how her character in season 2 will develop more. When we learn a little bit more about Ellie's birth, it gives a little bit of insight on why she might be immune. Her mom, played by Ashley Johnson, is in labor and fighting off infected and gets bit, but has Ellie at the same time. But Ellie is still attached by the umbilical cord. The story was sad because Ellie's mom knew that she wasn't going to survive and asked her best friend Marlene to kill her, which was hard not only for her but also for Marlene. It was a sad and constant reminder that once you're bit, that's it. Joel was such an interesting character to follow throughout the series, played by the amazing Pedro Pascal. We see him start off happy when he is with his daughter, but after her death, even years later, he is a very stoic man and is really just living a mundane life until Ellie comes along. He had seen so much and understandably didn't want to get close to Ellie, but by the end of the season, he really becomes a father figure to her. He gets stabbed in the show, and that was stressful because I really didn't know if he was going to make it or not. But also, this comes after Ellie talking about losing so many people that she's loved. You could tell he was very protective of her, but during the episode with David, it becomes apparent how protective because he was killing anyone in his way to get to Ellie. At the end of the episode, he says, "It's okay, baby girl," and that really broke me. Joel is a tough guy, but he really has a kind heart and has lost so much from his daughter to Tess and shoot, even Bill. So his demeanor is completely understandable, but I'm glad that in the end he is opening up to Ellie. I don't know if I agree with his actions in the last episode, but do know that he was such an interesting character to follow, and I can't wait to see what he does in the next season, and if Ellie will find out about his lie that he told her at the end of the season. Also, supposedly he has a scar on his face from trying to kill himself, and I legit could not see any scar when I was watching this show. One of my favorite things about video game adaptations is when they have the people who were in the actual video game make appearances in the show or the movie. Troy Baker, who voices Joel in the game, makes an appearance as James. Merle Dandridge actually is the only person in this show to play the role that she played in the game, which is Marlene. Jeffrey Price, who voiced Tommy, is Perry in the show. Ashley Johnson, who voices Ellie in the game, plays Anna in the show. And one of the Firefly nurses at the end of the season is played by Laura Bailey, who plays Abby in the game. Abby hasn't made her appearance yet, and I would advise you not to look up the character because you will get flooded with spoilers. My favorite part of The Last of Us Season 1 is in episode 3. And if you have seen the show, then you know what I am talking about. We get introduced to Bill and Frank, and I never thought a little zombie show would have such a heartfelt and sad episode. Nick Offerman and Murray Bartlett play Bill and Frank respectively, and they both give such captivating performances that really struck an emotional chord. We not only see how they met, but we see their connection to Tess and Joel and really see how they fell in love over time and really supported each other. I know their relationship was a change from the game, but this is one of those changes that benefited the story and became one of my favorite parts from this entire season. They ended up dying together because they didn't want to live without each other, which to me was like the sweetest thing. Just speaking about it makes me want to go and watch it again. The Last of Us is one of the most recent in a large line of video game adaptations that proves that they can be adapted and build a stronger following and they can work as a TV show. The cast for this show is amazing, and the story will have you interested and crying at some parts. If you haven't seen The Last of Us, then I highly suggest that you go and watch it. Thank you for watching my video. I would love to hear your thoughts down below in the comments. If you haven't subscribed, please do so you can keep up to date with more of my videos. But besides that, everyone stay safe, have fun, and goodbye.